Shalom, shalom, shalom. This is your brother Kazakya, and I am really excited because I'm launching a new channel, and this channel is called Simplicity Channel. We're going to talk about some things as pertain to scriptures and social events and the additional things that we deal with in our society in a simplistic manner. The first thing I want to just talk about that was on my heart is the title that has been given to us, the people of color that came into America historically via the transatlantic slave trade. And the label that has been placed on us is African American. Okay. So from a simplistic perspective, I want to just deal with what is an African American, right? Now, many of us have embraced the term African American, right? Now, are you aware that there are, according to research, 54 different countries in Africa? In the 54 countries that are in Africa, you have Nigeria, just to name a few, Chad, Ethiopia, Egypt, Libya, Morocco, and so forth and so on. So when we embrace a label that we call ourselves African Americans, which one of those countries of the 54 countries are we from? Now, just from a simplistic perspective, just dealing with Africa itself, okay? If you know, and I had the opportunity to know many so-called people, so-called Africans from the continent of Africa, and when I talk to them on a one-on-one basis and I ask them, do you call yourself an African outside of America? And they say no. And I say, well, what do you call yourself? You have those that are from Ghana, they call themselves Ghanaians. Only in America do they use the terminology African. Okay? You have Nigerians who call themselves Nigerians. Okay? And if you want to break it down in each particular country of the so-called continent of Africa, there are tribal people in those lands, right? And so there are a multiplicity of tribes of people that are in the different countries, in the 54 countries of Africa. So when a person say, I'm an African, right? That doesn't really give a particular definition of that person's identity other than they're from the continent of Africa. Now, historically, we understand that there are Arabs that live in the continent of Africa that don't even embrace a label of being called African because they consider themselves Arabs. Okay? They will jihad you because they are Islamic Arabs that are of color, that are people of color of dark complexion, that if you call them an African, they will jihad you. Right? So when we use the term Africa to embrace those of us who came into the Western Hemisphere called America and have embraced a label called African America, it is doing a disservice to you as a person to label you as a whole continent called Africa. Right? So now when we use the term African American, we are taking a label of a whole continent of Africa with 54 countries. And according to the sources of the internet, Africa has between 1,500 and 2,000 various different languages, which corresponds with the various different tribes that are in the continent of Africa in the various 54 different countries. So to embrace a label, to call yourself an African American is an oxymoron. Okay? Those Europeans who are from, let's say, Ireland or Germany or Russia, just to name a few, they don't call themselves Russian Americans. And some of them may call themselves Russian American, which is a better label because they are actually zeroing in on the country that they're from, Russia, which is a country in the continent of Europe. So people that the world have labeled as Caucasians don't call themselves European Americans, right? Those that may not know their heritage might just say, I'm an American and I have Irish ancestry, or I may have German ancestry, or I may have French ancestry, or what have you. But they do not embrace the label that I am a European American. So when we embrace the term that I am an African American, America is a continent as well, which consists of North America and South America, as well as the Caribbean islands or the islands of the sea. Okay? So now, a person that's from America can be from Brazil, which is south, or they can be from Venezuela, or they can be from Guyana, or they could be from Jamaica or Cuba or Haiti, right? So it's a false label to say I am an African American because you are not indigenous to the land that we call America. So it's a false label. So from a simplistic perspective, right, you cannot consider yourself to be an African continent, American continent, because it doesn't make any logical sense at all to be labeled an African American. Okay, just from a simplistic perspective. So that's all I'm going to share on that particular subject from simplicity. Let's keep it simple and keep it simplistic. Don't call yourself an African or American because you're not an African American. That's not a label that identifies your ethnic origin. And in the next video, we're going to tap in on some things that are simplistic, right? According to the scriptures in the next presentation. So stay tuned.